Hello everyone, I'd like to welcome you to the Activate series. Today I'm going to be focusing on something quite important, something that might look very simple on the surface, but is very pivotal to your overall success as a person, right? So I want to consider the topic of talents or how to maximize your talents, right? I really wouldn't want to go into the definition of what a talent is or what talents are because I'd assume that you understand or you know what a talent is, right? But to be on the safe side, a talent is a special ability or a special gifting that a person has, something you can do very easily that other people might find otherwise difficult, right? So it's a special ability, right? It's something you do that other people find amazing, like they are wowed every time you do this thing, right? This gift, anytime you let it out, it's always amazes people, right? So everyone has a talent. Every single person has a talent. If you're watching this video, I want to tell you upfront that you have a talent. um, it's possible that you might not have recognized your talent, right? But it doesn't change the fact that it is there, right? Just because you don't recognize it doesn't mean it isn't there, right? So every single person has a talent. Now, one thing that is worthy of note is that your talent is not necessarily meant for you alone. Is meant for the benefit of others, right? So while it's a benefit to you as a person, it's also a massive benefit to other people, right? Think of anybody that is performing at the top of their game. Now, whatever gift it is they are exhibiting is not just of benefits to them, but it's of a benefit to a whole lot more people, right? So whatever gifting, whatever talent that God has given you with, you need to understand that it is not just for yourself, it is for the world, it's for the benefit of the world, right? And as is the case, a talent is an investment, is God's investment in you, right? And as expected, every investment is meant to yield a profit. Every investment is meant to make some returns of some sort. And so God's investment in you is expected to yield some kind of benefits, right? Whenever you begin to release your talent, whenever you begin to maximize and work with the things, those gift things that God has given you with, and you begin to bless other people, what's happening is that you're making returns on God's investment in your life. So think about it this way. Whenever you don't maximize God's ability, God's special ability that He has gifted to you. Now, notice that talents are not really gotten by any kind of effort. They're actually gifts, right? And so God has given us these gifts. He has given each and every one of us these peculiar person specific gifts, right, that are required to be of immense benefit, not just to ourselves, the carriers, but to other people out there, right? So whenever you keep your talents to yourself, whenever you keep your giftings to yourself, what you're doing is you are making a loss on God's investment. When you don't trade, when you don't put your talents into use, God's investment is going to waste, right? So understand that whatever ability you have is of immense benefit to other people, and whenever you maximize that, whenever you put it to use, you are making profit on God's investment in your life, right? Second point I want to talk about, or what I want to talk about secondly, is that your talents or giftings gets perfected with use, right? The more you use your talent, the more perfect you are at it. Now, most times when we set out to do something, when we set out to begin to maximize or to use our giftings as it is, sometimes we have this sense of wanting to achieve perfection almost immediately. doesn't work that way most of the time. Your talents will get perfected. You'll become a master with constant practice, with constant usage of that talent. Now, don't expect that when you start to maximize your talents, that you become perfect immediately, right? It's going to take some time. It's going to take some practice. The saying that says practice makes perfect, right? So practice makes perfect. In the same vein, non-practice makes imperfect. So if you don't use your giftings, if you don't use your talents, at any time you start to use them, it looks like you are imperfect at it, right? But if you can stay, if you can be more consistent, then you grow to the place of perfection. So, whatever your talents are, you must begin to use them. You should begin to use them, because if you don't, it begins to deteriorate, right? It begins to wither, right? This reminds me of something that happened recently. I was gifted a printer some months ago, a very nice printer, big printer. And so I tried to use it, but it wasn't working properly, right? The printers were coming with all sorts of, you know, inks on it, and it wasn't just good. So I called the technician to fix it, and when he checked it, and he mentioned something to me that I wouldn't quite forget. He said the toner has not been used for a very long time. Now this printer came as a new one, right? It was boxed, it was in the carton and everything. And he said if this toner, or if this cartridge rather, was removed and given to someone else to use, this printer will still be in good condition, right? So with usage you get better. Now most of us have our talents packed in the cartons. We've never really opened them, right? And then when we eventually open them, we expect it to work perfectly, but it wouldn't. And if it wouldn't, you might have this voice or this thing telling you that this is not what you're good at. It's simply a lie. It's just because you've not used it, or you've not done it over and over again, right? So whatever your talents are, you will get perfect with more usage. Whatever you set out to do, you get perfect with more usage. Practice makes perfect, non-practice makes imperfect. So if you want to be perfect at your talent, you want to be perfect at the giftings that God has called you, God has given you rather, you must learn how to use them. No matter how imperfect or how ugly it looks at the beginning, if you can learn to be consistent, if you can learn to stay at it, you'll discover that with time, you become a master in that given field. Everyone who has achieved mastery in their fields started out as imperfect, right? What makes them different, or what makes them stand out, is that they were able to consistently put their talents into use, and with time they achieved mastery. The same thing applies to you. If you can learn to stay with your talent, if you can learn to use your talent, God's giftings in your life, irrespective of how it looks from the beginning, I'm telling you for sure that you're going to arrive at the place of mastery, right? It's very important. Don't get discouraged by the outcome of you trying to maximize or trying to use your talent or your giftings. Don't be discouraged by it. It just shows you that you're bold enough, you're courageous enough to take the first step. All that matters is the first step, right? Once you're able to take that and get it correctly, every other thing will fall in place, right? So your talents and giftings will make room for you. Your talents and giftings will make room for you. It's what will give you an access into influence, right? When you begin to maximize and use your talents, um, you can stand before kings. You can stand before people of importance, right? You can stand before people of prominence, because every talent, really, every talent, every gifting you have is meant to solve a problem. And when you learn how to solve problems, people will learn how to follow you and pursue you wherever you are, right? So understand that your talents and giftings will make room for you. In a world where there is competition, increased competition in almost every field right now, when you learn to stay in your lane, when you learn to maximize that specific gifting that God has endowed you with, you will stand before kings. Lastly, I want to tell you that you shouldn't just be about your job or about trying to make a living, right? You should be more concerned. You should be more uh, conscious about making impact, about making transformations in the life of other people. And really, that is why we were gifted with talents. That's why we have these special abilities within us. I really don't know what your ability is. I don't know what God has endowed you with, right? But whatever it is, discover it and begin to work with it, begin to make profit on it. Remember, it is God's investment in your life, right? And when you begin to use it, it means that you're willing to make profits on that investment, right? So think about this, ponder on this, and I'll see you in the next video.